Welcome to the Musicians Creating Prosperity podcast, where you'll discover business, mindset, and leadership strategies to put your music business on autopilot. I'm your host, Dr. Fabiana, pianist and former university professor turned seven-figure entrepreneur dedicated to empowering artists worldwide. Whether you're a seasoned musician or other creative entrepreneur, this podcast is your guide to financial, artistic, and lifestyle freedom. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Musicians Creating Prosperity podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Fabiana, pianist and business strategist for musicians. And I'm excited to come to you today to talk about the process of selling before creating and why the best thing you can do when you're a musician entrepreneur trying to create a new way of serving your clients, a new program, or perhaps reinvent yourself in your music business, why you should focus first on learning how to position your program, how to position your offer, how to sell your offer, and only after you have people who buy your services and buy your programs and products, only after should you actually worry about building your offer. And I know this may sound counterintuitive for many of you who may be perfectionists at heart, high achievers who have high standards. You may think about, how is this possible? What are you saying, Fabiana? Tell me more. And I want you to really think about this with me for a moment. When you're able to create things with the input of the people you're building it for, rather than in a vacuum in isolation, you actually have a much better opportunity to create something that will actually be relevant and that will solve an immediate need that your ideal clients have. You see, contrary to what most musicians do when they're performing, presenting, perfecting their craft in the practice room, where you are basically working on your own for the majority of the time in isolation, like an artisan, crafting your talent, your career, working on your skills, only to then show up on stage when you feel ready and present it as a finished product, or at least as finished as you can. When you build a business, that same process cannot be successful because you need to be making sure that you're creating something in response to what the market asks from you. So chances are, if you are like most of the musicians that I speak to on a regular basis, you have many different interests, many different skill sets. You have a lot to offer that you may be wondering, how could I package this to people? How could I serve through all of the different skills? What should I choose? I have so many things that I do. I'm interested in so many things. Maybe you're a multi-passionate person like most creatives are. So the good news is, when you approach this idea of selling before creating, selling before building, you actually are able to basically curate your collective skills and knowledge based on what people are paying you to build. Right? You're getting paid to build versus trying to build it and then get paid after it's done. So let's take a moment to kind of reflect why I'm so passionate about kind of advocating for this strategy as it relates to positioning your brand, positioning your services online, especially. It's because when you have the direct information and input from the people who want what you're offering, you can actually build it in slow increments of time. You can really create one thing at a time. I know the first time I started my first program, the Musicians Profit Umbrella, back in 2020, many of my initial cohort of clients were fellow university music professors, because that's what I was at the time. And some of them asked me, do you have a syllabus? Is this something you have it all fleshed out like I would in a traditional university kind of classroom? And I remember saying, no, I don't have a syllabus. I have it all in my head. I know what I want to do, but I'm not really going to go out and build it until we start working together. And I know it may have felt like a little bit of a shock, but I can assure you that after my first 6-month round, where I would literally just build every single training 1 week at a time based on the questions I was getting asked, based on the people that actually joined my program, and really being able to decide, what do they need right now? And after I presented, let's say, the first training, the first, set of materials, to be able to see how they absorbed that, what new questions they came up with, what were their next level challenges, to then go back and create the next training based on that next level challenge. It made the process incredibly enjoyable, organic, and took a lot of pressure off of me having to make sure that I was building a lot of things and then hoping that it would work. No, I knew it was going to work because I was literally building it in a co-creative process with my clients. And so this has been a journey of not only learning this on my own, but also seeing how powerful this can be when I guide musicians in doing this for themselves. One of the things that stops most musicians from actually venturing into building their brands and positioning their offers is this assumption that you have to have it all figured out. You have to have all of your trainings ready, all of your modules, your handouts before you can even talk about what you do. And it's the completely opposite. So today's episode is really about breaking down why I'm such a firm believer that if you focus on learning how to position your idea, your value proposition, the solution you're trying to offer, and you are able to position that, price it, and talk about it from a place of belief, of confidence. Obviously you want to be doing something that you know you can help people with, right? You don't want to just do this when you don't know you can help people. I'm always operating under the assumption that you're building this framework based on your area of expertise. So if you know you can help people solve a specific problem, then you don't really need to build the solution until you've sold it first. I think that's the main message for this episode. Now, the same thing happened to me after 3.5 years of having this program. After my first round, for 6 months, I just built the curriculum 1 week at a time, basically. And then I had a chance to revamp it, revise it, delete some trainings, add additional trainings. And at that point, I had a very nice little library of content that I was able to now easily just give people access to the minute they joined my program. It was easy because I had it all laid out, right? And so when people would come into the program, though, they would see the library of trainings and they would say, wow, Fabiana, this is a lot you've got in here. This is amazing. I cannot imagine how I would be able to do what you're doing, how I could start my online program and do something like this with, I've seen that you have so many things already laid out. And I would always go back and remind them, hey, you don't need to have all of this before you start. You need to start and then build it gradually with the input of your paying clients. So I would always remind them that that is not like what they see is not what it started with, right? And I think this created a sigh of relief for the people coming into my container and kind of seeing and learning, okay, maybe it doesn't have to be all like laid out and perfect. And that's actually on purpose. But interestingly enough, after 3.5 years of working in this way with musicians, in a kind of longer container, where they would come in and, they would get incredible results in just a matter of months. In some instances, I would have clients come in and just 2 or 3 months, they would already basically re-engineer their offers and launch their first few programs and have their first paying clients that would come in at $5,000 plus per client. I realized that at that point, my container was 12 months, which it still is a 12-month program. And, it was really built for a massive transformation, a massive breakthrough that went above and beyond simply creating a financial leap. It was all about not just creating a financial leap, but also creating a business that ultimately can run on autopilot, right? And we talked a lot about the benefits of building a business in this way all throughout this podcast. It's one of my main themes that I really love really sharing and teaching musicians about. But the goal of that 12-month program is really to go a lot more than just build an offer and validate that offer. It's really about now being able to turn it into something that runs itself and has a self-sustaining element to it and can be something that can become an asset to your business rather than simply a source of self-employment. When you're able to build a business that becomes a revenue generating asset for you and does not require you to be all day, every day, doing everything in order for it to produce what you need, then you have not just the business, but you have an asset. And that's the goal, right, of the 12-month program. But the interesting thing was after 3.5 years, I decided, you know what, I think it's time I expand and create a different suite of offerings and offer something else in addition to my main flagship program, the Musician's Profit Umbrella. And so the idea of building a shorter container kind of came to me after having some conversations with musicians who really wanted to work and build their online businesses and kind of work and be in my world. But for one reason or another, they were not quite ready yet to come in to the full 12-month experience. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to start a smaller program. I'm going to create like a bite-sized version of what I had been teaching in the longer year-long program. And I remember saying, oh, this is going to be easy for me. I'll just be able to, grab the most important elements of my existing curriculum and I'll just piece it together into a short, smaller, more condensed version of what I've been doing over my year-long program and present that to the market and just have a different offer, like a smaller kind of introductory offer. And my team and I, we were brainstorming how it was going to be called, how we were going to position it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And for about 2 or 3 months, I kept delaying the launch of the smaller program because I kept feeling very overwhelmed with the amount of content that I had to choose from. The truth is, at that stage, I had 3 years worth of content, and I really loved everything that was in my longer program library. So I had a lot of challenges trying to figure out what should I choose if I am going to create this type of smaller program. Which trainings should I choose? Which one should I discard? And lo and behold, I spent about 2 or 3 months just in this brainstorming mode, kind of obsessing around wanting it to be perfect, right? And oh my gosh, I got all these modules and this training and that training, and I could pick from here, I could pick from there. Oh my goodness, which should I pick? Which is the best option? And my team kept coming to me saying, Fabiana, we need the program. We need to launch it. We need to add, put it out into the marketplace. We've been talking about this and we're ready. Like, this is the period we said we were going to launch it. Let's go. We need the materials. And all of a sudden it hit me. I had fallen into my own trap of not of wanting to have it all perfect before I actually sold it. And in my case, it wasn't that I wanted to create it. It was that I had to build it from what was already built, right? From what was in my existing longer library. But the same tendency of like perfectionism kind of fell onto me. And I realized I know what's happening right now. I know where I'm facing the resistance. I'm trying to make something perfect and create a finished product before I actually sold it. And that's the number one mistake that I actually teach musicians not to do. I was doing it myself. And so in a few weeks, I decided, scratch the strategy. I'm actually going to position this offer, be able to explain what is the value proposition of this smaller container. And I'm actually going to present it to the market. I'm going to do a webinar, a training, a masterclass, a short conversion event. And I'm going to share with my community that I have a new program. And I'm going to start it. And only when I have people who bought it, then I'm going to actually build it over the series of, I believe, 4 weeks or so. I'm going to create the trainings live with the people that join. So I felt so relieved because I realized, oh my gosh, I need to take a drop from my own medicine here, because why was I waiting to just have it all ready before I launched it? No, let me launch it. Let me position it. Let me market it. Let me sell it. And then I'll build it. And so that ended up being an incredible milestone for me, because I presented the new shorter program. The name was called Musicians Client Attraction Roadmap. So I have the Musicians Profit Umbrella, and then I have the Musicians Client Attraction Roadmap, which acronym spell CAR. So the Musicians CAR. And I launched the program. I had 2 people who joined it for the very first round. And with those 2 new students, I created the modules 1 week at a time over the course of a month or so. And I delivered them in real time, 1 week at a time, really listening to what they needed and tailoring it to those specific needs and challenges that those 2 clients had. And then, of course, over time, the program continued growing. And I initially, launched it as a 2-month program. It eventually became kind of like a 3-month startup with now continuation options. But I now, after now it's been about 1.5 years that I've been running both programs at the same time, my Musicians Car, Musicians Profit Umbrella. I always remember this kind of turning point and awakening that I had around, don't worry so much about trying to build things and having them all perfect before you sell them. Just sell it and then you create it. And so I did this twice now. I did it with my first round, my first program, and then with my second program. And the beautiful thing is, when I, created the smaller version, I really built it in real time in a live setting with real clients. And then I was able to, once I had kind of like the skeleton curriculum baseline prepared, then I was able to then go and pick, what were some additional things that I could borrow from my longer program and add as bonus materials for the clients based on their needs. So for example, some of them came in and we highly recommend that they go on and hire at least a virtual assistant to begin the process, so that they don't have to be doing everything themselves. And especially when it comes to learning the tech and the posting and the scheduling and softwares, etc. I personally don't do all of that in my business. And I recommend, if you're a musician entrepreneur serious about scaling strategically, you shouldn't be learning and doing all of that either. It's much better use of your time and money and attention to hire that out, to find someone that can help you, even if it's overseas, if you want to find someone in a more affordable conversion rate at currency exchange, and just find a way to delegate some of the tasks that would require massive learning from you unnecessarily, right? So people would come in and they're like, oh, I want to hire a virtual assistant. So I would borrow some of our trainings on how to hire a virtual assistant and how to set up that person for success and how to monitor and ensure that they become truly a contribution to your business rather than just a burden. And so we would just, little by little start picking some of the, golden gems that we have, the best parts of my longer program and add them as a bonus, right? So by now, yes, the my smaller program is really, beefed up. It's robust because it has not only the live curriculum that I've built in real time in direct response to what those people that came in for a shorter time span, shorter time span wanted, but also over time, we've been adding some additional bonus sessions from my longer container program. So this is just an example of how I've done it in a couple of different instances. And, if you are in this process of wanting to see how you could package your skills and reinvent yourself and build your business without having to put all this upfront work ahead of time and only find yourself maybe hearing crickets by the time you have everything ready to go, and you want to do this in a strategic way where you're not putting the cart in front of the horse, then I would invite you to check out what this shorter more condensed version of my offer looks like, because it could potentially be a great model and a template for you to see, wow, if Fabiana did this in just 4 months and in 4 weeks, in like a month or so, like this is amazing. Like you could actually do this as well. And the beautiful thing is that when I launched my first program, I think the first client that was able to get a significant win was really after 2 months. They would go through the modules, et cetera, and within 2 months, they were able to launch their first program and get their first high ticket paying client, et cetera. When I did this condensed version and I crammed it up into a more distilled version, the first client was able to get their win in 3 weeks. And so I realized, wow, there's some magic to streamlining and simplifying some of the content. And then, of course, the purpose of the Musicians Client Attraction Roadmap is more of an incubator, of a starter to just get the program launched and get those first foundational pieces in place before you're now trying to scale back and remove yourself from the business. So the two programs have different goals. They both can help you build, scale, your business, but obviously the initial launching pad, the musician's car, is really intended to be that initial vehicle, that Kickstarter accelerator, so to speak, right? Just like a car, to accelerate your path to getting that first high ticket paying client, and then the Musician's Profit Umbrella is now about really uniting all of your skills and building a brand, building a legacy body of work, and ultimately creating an asset for your life that can work without you, right? So if you're interested in exploring more about any of these two programs, whether it's my Musicians Client Attraction Roadmap or my longer Musicians Profit Umbrella offer, I invite you to, connect with me. You can learn more about this. Simply go to fabianaclara.com/call and you can reach out and we can have a conversation and I can explain to you, me or my team will walk you through, what are some of the different nuances and differences between these two ways of working. And I would be happy to share more about that. But at any rate, I hope that you really think about what is standing in the way from you right now to actually launch your offer, to really position yourself in the market and to be able to confidently say, you have something to share, you have something to give, you have a mission, you've learned things in your life that have given you a path to being able to solve people's problems, right? Whether those problems are around musical development or personal development or mindset development, whatever it is that you can help people solve. Do not wait until you've got all your ducks in a row and you have the entire information and the modules ready and the trainings. Don't do that to yourself because you're only going to delay what will actually need to happen anyway, which is you're really going to ultimately build it out with the people who need it. Okay. So I hope that you've enjoyed this episode and I look forward to hearing what your key takeaways are. Again, if you'd like to learn more about how you can do this in your own business, then just reach out fabianaclara.com/call. And I'd be happy to talk to you and walk you through how you could specifically create a roadmap for your music business with simplicity and with strategy. Thank you for listening and let's prosper together. Till next time. See you soon.